Hey guys, welcome back to our talk on modern India and the movement to bring India to complete and total freedom. So we left off with last time getting into World War II and really the end of World War II, where the British Empire was simply a tired empire, that they did not have the financial means, the money, the capital to run an empire, a landmass like India, nor did they have the political will at the end of World War II, on the home front at least, to govern a country that was simply just bristling for freedom. And we saw in that movement with Gandhi, with Nehru, with Jinnah, like these men are pushing, not just these three, but millions of men and women are pushing for freedom. And they do eventually get it. At the end of World War II, the British make it very clear that they are not staying. They are going to get out as soon as possible. And this is where we have this man come in, Cyril Radcliffe, a British official that is really responsible for the partition line that has become so maligned in history, and for good reason. He has also kind of been the scorn of many critiques because of his role in the partition. Because his map, the map that he drew of the partition between India and Pakistan, was not based on experience. It's not like he visited these areas and knew the divisions between different groups, different regions. He simply looked at a map, put pen to paper, and drew a line. Yes, he was going based off of rivers and farmland, but he didn't understand the people. So when he's going and dividing up a nation, dividing up millions of people, he's doing it based off of geographical features, not based off the population, not based off the people. And it was the hatred of Radcliffe was so deep and divisive that he was remarked about 30 years afterwards, so sometime in the 1970s, that if he ever went back, he would either be shot by India, people of India, or shot by the Pakistanis, because both sides hated him, because both sides felt like they got the raw end of the deal. And this is his map. We can kind of see. I know it's a little blurry, but if we look in the upper right hand corner of the map, this is where we see the greatest conflict. Right? We kind of see in the map, in the center part right here, right, Amritsar. Oop. All right, so remember that's also part of this conflicted area. Remember, going back to right after World War I, the massacre at Amritsar. This is where that's located. So it's an area steeped in conflict, in history, in violence, and violence between the British and the people of this region. But despite the overwhelming anger towards the British with this kind of haphazard partition plan, and the resistance both on both sides, it goes through. And essentially, they justify it is that in order to divide, or the reason for dividing these groups, is that to ensure security for all groups, not just the Indian, not just the Hindus, not just the Muslims, but for everyone. Because there was a fear at the time, and history's kind of played itself out to support that fear, that there would be an incredible amount of violence between these groups. Some of it was kind of pushed forward by the partition and exacerbated by it, but nonetheless the fear was still there. So they decided, all right, they're going to split India, they're going to divide it along those major cultural, religious lines, the Hindus and the Muslims. So we see in July of 1947, 2 years after the end of, or just under 2 years after the end of World War II, India and Pakistan are split. All right, so we see the Muslim regions in the northwest, so what is modern-day Pakistan, and in the east, what is modern-day Bangladesh, would become Pakistan. At the time, it was East and West Pakistan, but Pakistan, right? And then the Hindu regions would gain the majority of the Indian subcontinent. So what we commonly know now or current day as India, that's what the majority Hindu population got, right? Problem being is that yes, those regions were majority, those religions, so in the northwest and the eastern portions were Muslim and the subcontinent was Hindu. That doesn't mean that the opposite or the other religions didn't live in those regions. So that's where we see in the aftermath there's this huge scramble that goes on, right? And we see images like this one where trains are packed even more so than they were traditionally, right? People just taking all their belongings from one area and moving, right? And this mad dash in 1947, really 46 and 47, caused a lot of problems throughout the region, and a lot of violence. Because we see here, this is what I was talking about with the northwest and the east, right? So this area would be Bangladesh, modern day Bangladesh. This area is Pakistan, and this Indian subcontinent is the yellow and part of the pink. So that idea is that people are pushing to get out. It's this kind of mad dash, this rat race to leave this area. So if you're a Muslim, or sorry, a Hindu in the regions of Pakistan, you're getting out. If you're a Muslim in the regions of India, you're getting out. So this scramble, this kind of life and death struggle, and in the end, the Sikhs, this other kind of minority population and small minority population, they're really caught in the middle. So they're the ones that are kind of often, not say forgotten, but overlooked when we talk about this story of the violence and the violent partition between India and Pakistan. And in the end, well over, I know I say 1 million, but well over 1 million people die in the riots and the fighting that ensued in the aftermath of the partition. And that's why it's some of the individuals involved in the movement towards freedom, independence for India, were really kind of disheartened by the images and the body count that they saw in 1947, 1948, and the following years. And even Gandhi was kind of, like I said, disheartened, not to use the word again, but disheartened, because he says, like, what is there to celebrate? It's rivers of blood. Millions of fellow Indians are dying. Yes, it's Hindus and Muslims, but millions are dying. And unfortunately, Gandhi was one of them. All right, we see he was very much so this, up until the very end, even beyond the partition, embracing this idea of peace, this non-violence, and he was the one in India protecting Muslim refugees from violence, from the violence against them. And he was killed in January 48, so only a few months after the partition. Well, just about 6 months after the partition, by a fellow Hindu that felt as though that Gandhi was not doing enough, that Gandhi was not supportive enough of Hindu rights. So we see this extremism kind of winning, I'm not saying winning out, but having a strong impact by the end of the partition. So we just look at this map right at the end. Alright, so this is majority Muslim areas. These are the different different regions, right? And just how divided this area was. Alright, so we see this border in the upper region. This is Kashmir. This is the border that we've been kind of talking about, or will be talking about in a moment, and how impactful that is on on this relationship, this kind of contentious relationship between Pakistan and India. And we've seen this play out before. Remember, to the Middle East. And that didn't turn out so well. We've seen the UN, we've seen the international community get involved and try to broker a deal to keep two populations from killing each other. All right, and that's been a conflict that has been going on again since around the same time, right? Post World War II. Right? And we know from experience that did not turn out well. That did not result in what many had anticipated, or maybe not anticipated, but many had hoped would happen. So we look at this conflict between India and Pakistan mirrors very closely, I was saying very closely with the conflict between the Arab states and the Jewish states in the area surrounding what is now modern-day Israel and Palestine. All right, so we'll take a pause there before jumping on to the next area. We'll talk about the growth of India, the conflict between India and Pakistan, and the place of Kashmir. Talk to you guys later.